one of the best things that I did for my dog, and you can do for your dog, is to desensitize them to the sounds and the sensations of a razor so that when they get older, you're able to groom them without them being fearful, stressed, or struggling and potentially hurting themselves or you. So from the moment I brought my new puppies into the house, and you can do this from the time you bring a puppy or the time you adopt an older dog into your house, you're going to start to condition them to be desensitized to a razor. You do want to look for one that has low noise. Now, I started off by teaching my dogs how to use a little razor. When puppies are puppies, you can still groom their feet. So you're going to trim their paw pads, the fur away so that nothing gets stuck in there. We've talked about that in many videos. And you're going to trim their nails. You are going to do foot maintenance. But for a lot of breeds, you do not give them actual haircuts until they're after a year old because it can damage their fur and make it grow in weird and wonky for the rest of their life. So you are not necessarily going to be grooming a puppy until they're a little bit older. But if they're not used to it and comfortable with it, then it can be a really big fight, a really big problem when they get older. So I started with a smaller razor and I built up to that larger razor. And it was very simple in terms of the process for us. I wanted to have a low noise razor, and all of my razors, both the little paw ones and the ones for grooming, are as low noise as possible. And I just turned it on in the room. So I actually started off by letting them sniff it. I would just hold the device and I'd let them kind of sniff it. I made sure they didn't get cut on the razor, which the razors that I use and the ones I recommend, which I will link down below, don't hurt your dog. I've actually used them on my own skin and made sure that I wasn't going to accidentally nick my dogs. Very, very well created razors that are not going to be a problem. And so I let them sniff it. I let them play with it. I let them understand what that was going to be. And then I would turn it on the low setting. And that would kind of vibrate it and they would back up and they would look at it a little bit, but that conditioned them to be okay with the sound. Now, after a while of getting them used to the sound of it, I would hold it to them and let them kind of touch it. And so their noses would touch the vibrations. They would kind of get an idea for it. And as we continued to build this up, and building this up is over the course of a couple of days or weeks or even months. It does not have to be same day. It doesn't even have to be the same week. Go slowly. The slower you go, the less fearful they will be and the easier it's going to be to condition them to not be sensitive to the sounds and the sensations of the razor. So once they are kind of aware of it, they kind of know what's going on. Then what I did was I held my puppy and I would take the side of the razor and just touch it to their bodies. I did not use the razor blade. I didn't even use the end of the razor. I used the long side of the razor, and with it on, with it buzzing and vibrating, I would just touch to their skin and kind of move it over their backs, over their shoulders, over their hips. And at first they were a little concerned about it, but the more I did it, the more they got used to it and the easier it became. I did not try to groom them. I was literally just getting them used to the feel of the vibrations against their skin. So the sounds and the sensation of feeling is what trained them to be okay with this. Then as we built it up more and more, I would turn the vibrations up. So it would be at the lower level and then we would go to the higher level. And I would be able to run it along their body without any issues after a period of time. Once they got comfortable with it, we would move on to the next stage. So once they were okay and not struggling and not stressed out, then we could slowly progress to the next step of this. So as they were younger, then I would start to actually touch the end of it to their feet. So I got them used to it on their bodies, then I got them used to it on their feet. The next step was to actually shave just a little bit of the fur on the bottom of their paws so that we cleared out their pads so they weren't picking up any debris. It's a little bit of a process. You do not have to do the entire paw in one sitting, just one little swipe to let them feel it and then let them be. And then maybe another swipe or two. Do it in little stages. Do it day after day after day until they're comfortable with it. And again, you don't even have to actually use that razor on it. You can turn it to the side and just let them feel the vibrations again and again and again so that you're not trimming anything too low, but they are getting aware of it and they're getting used to it. So I did their entire bodies, then I worked on their feet, then I actually shaved their feet and I taught them how to do paw grooming. And then as they got older, I would continue to use it along their bodies until they were old enough to get their very first haircuts, at which point, once again, we are on the lowest setting. I do have people helping me with this. I didn't try to do this by myself. I made sure I had somebody come help me for the initial versions of this, just so that nothing happened, to hold them still and keep them nice and confident. And we would just do a little tiny bit at a time so that they did not panic or become fearful over it. And the more we did it, the more we progressed down this path, the easier it became. And then I was able to groom my dogs by myself without any help. It was a process. It takes time. And I started from the time I brought them into the house, and I built it up until the time they were confident. There is no timetable for this. You have to work on your dog's schedule. And so doing a little bit every day or a couple of times a week is really going to build up that confidence for both your dog and for you. And it teaches you how to be able to communicate through touch and through language and through communicating what you're going to do and what you're expecting of them as you're doing this movement. So talk them through it. Dogs are smart. They will catch on and they will be able to kind of go with the flow as you are educating them on this. And if you use the same words over and over again, they then know what to expect. If they know what to expect, I'm going to touch your shoulder, and you touch their shoulder, they're going to learn where you're going to touch them and how, so it becomes less scary to them because they have the confidence and trust in you, and they understand what you're going to be doing next. So the more you can put your time and effort into this, the easier it's going to be for your dog to assimilate to how to use this razor as they are getting older. And then by the time you get around to it, within a few months, you should be able to actively work on your dog without too much trauma or stress. Now, the caveat, of course, to this is that if you're adopting a dog and you do not know that dog's past, they may have some trauma around it and you may need to go slower, or you may need to do things a little bit differently, but putting in that time and effort can really impact and make a huge difference in how your dog is going to be accepting of this. Drop your questions on this down below and let me know what your fears and frustrations are grooming your dog, because I have had lots of dogs in my life. I'm not a professional groomer, but I have always been the person to groom and maintain and care for my dogs. And so I've got some tips and tricks and just ways that we've built things up and desensitized them to make it easier for us when we are taking care of our dogs and doing that cooperative care. So drop your questions down below and follow for daily videos helping you navigate the world of being a dog parent so you can level up for your pup and give them the best life possible with the least amount of stress and overwhelm on you. Because we all want to be the best dog parents we can possibly be to our dogs and give them the elite life that they absolutely deserve. So we're here as a community in the comments, building each other up, helping each other out, and we'll see you in those daily episodes to help you continue to navigate your journey of dog parenthood.